My name is Krista Donaldson, and I'm the CEO of Equalize Health. So right now in India, we're seeing about 700,000 newborns dying per year, and this is about 28 babies per thousand. We want to get it down to 12 babies, or less. Obviously, we want to have as few deaths as possible, but 12 babies per thousand to hit the Sustainable Development Goal. And similar to maternal health, the disparities are great. We see it's harder to get quality care to save these lives in rural areas and areas that are outside of the major cities. India's seen tremendous progress in lowering the rates of maternal mortality and newborn mortality over the last 20 years, particularly in urban areas. But as you move into more rural areas, you still see issues with newborns such as respiratory distress. That's when newborns, their lungs are underdeveloped and they can't yet breathe. We're not seeing solutions there that are affordable and are suitable to the context. And in this case, the technology that's needed is CPAP, continuous positive air pressure. And it makes sense. When you look at the hospitals, particularly in rural areas, possibly public hospitals, you'll see one nurse taking care of 8 babies. And a standard medical device, will assume that one nurse is taking care of 2 babies. And that's a very different looking device than, one that recognizes that a nurse is very busy and doesn't have a lot of time to focus. And so the trends we're really seeing is that devices need to be more affordable. They need to be more user-centered, keeping in mind, what does the nurse need? What does the facility need? And they need to be more accessible, particularly, to rural markets and areas outside of urban areas in India. So the last 10 years, we've seen really exciting progress. If you look back to 10 years ago, devices were very expensive. The ones that were available, and they were really only available at flagship or high-end hospitals, but they would cost $4,000, $5,000, like a standard, for example, phototherapy device to treat jaundiced babies. And also the technology was old school. They were very expensive to use. So for example, phototherapy, it shines blue light on baby's skin, and it shines through their skin, breaks down the bilirubin, and they pee it out, and that cures their jaundice. But the bulbs for those devices would burn out every 3 to 6 months. And those bulbs could cost anywhere between $20 and $200. So it was very expensive for hospitals to run these devices. And as a result, if you went to hospitals outside of flagship hospitals or medical centers, for example, like Postgraduate Institute Chandigarh, you actually couldn't find phototherapy devices. And sometimes doctors were putting babies out in the sun. But technology has advanced. And what we see, for example, is with LEDs, and LEDs last thousands and thousands of hours. So 7 years before you even see some diminishment in their light quality. The other really exciting advancement we've seen with technology and with medical research, for example, with phototherapy, is that doctors better understand the quality of blue light that is best to treat babies. And so 10 years ago, you would see some green bulbs, you would see some white bulbs, and now you see very, very good blue bulbs, and also manufacturing has advanced so that blue LEDs can be made specifically to treat jaundiced babies. So Equalize Health was founded around 2009, and we used to be known by the name DREV, which is actually how we're mostly known in India, and DREV is short for Design Revolution. But our mission at Equalize Health is to create medical technology for everyone, and that is even hospitals that are treating patients in the toughest situations, to ensure that we're designing that the world has access to high quality, affordable, and useful medical technologies. And we recognize that technology is one piece to addressing maternal and newborn healthcare gaps. And we also have services, for example, telementoring, where we can support doctors and nurses in how to use the devices, but also to provide quality care. We've been in India since the very beginning, but set up formally in 2020. And we really believe that India not only is a place of great innovation, but it's also a place of great manufacturing. And India is so well positioned to serve markets in sub-Saharan Africa and around the world. And in fact, with our first products, they're in over 79 countries, and all of these devices are manufactured in India. So I talked about the phototherapy device that we have. It's called Brilliance, and it's produced by a manufacturing organization in Chennai called Phoenix Medical Systems. But that device has treated over 1.5 million patients, so 1.5 million newborns. And we estimate about 90% of those newborns would not have had access to effective care otherwise. And this of that 1.5 million, about 75% are in India. But we also serve, as I mentioned, we serve hospitals in Kenya and Tanzania, South Africa, Nepal, the Philippines. And India is really well positioned to serve hospitals around the world. In future, where are we going with our devices? As I mentioned, we are focused on newborn and we're focused on maternal health. And in newborn health, the major killer of babies is respiratory distress. And that's when the baby's lungs are not fully developed and they can't breathe. The treatment, CPAP, continuous positive air pressure, is largely inaccessible. And it's inaccessible because there's just not devices that recognize the needs of hospitals where, for example, there may not be access to oxygen, or the power gets cut off, or the nurses are taking care of many babies, or it's difficult to get the tubes consistently that are needed for the nasal prongs and for treating the baby. And we've designed a device that addresses all of those needs. It's called FlowLight. It will be on the market next year. But again, the goal is to address health disparities, so where there's gaps in care. And this device is affordable, it is high quality, and it's very durable. On the maternal health front, we have been working on postpartum hemorrhage, which represents about 35% of all maternal deaths. And we're looking at rapid screening. How can we help clinicians when they're in this really busy environment and, a woman is giving birth, but she's also bleeding. Sometimes it can be hard to recognize that she's going into hemorrhage. And this device will help clinicians recognize very quickly that that's happening. And then we're also working on treatment when uterotonics or medicines don't work. And this is a natural approach too that would help shrink the uterus. But our goal again really is to make sure that no child, no woman dies from a preventable condition. As part of my career, I'm very grateful I've had opportunities to work in the US, in Kenya, in Iraq. And one thing that's amazing about the Indian market is how dynamic it is. There is so many different markets, and what we see is innovation happening. We see new distributors happening. We see servicing and the design of devices by clinicians and hospitals. And what's really exciting about our work in India is we're looking also to partner with students and doctors and professors who have ideas that will save the lives of babies, will save the lives of mothers, and work together to develop solutions that are both world-class, affordable, and will reach wherever they need to go, whether that's in India or India and the rest of the world. Under Prime Minister Modi, we've also seen so many incredible programs that address health disparity, like Ayushman Bharat. We've also seen the growth of other NGOs like Arman and Nora, and these are organizations that provide wraparound support to not just mothers who may have a child who's been diagnosed with something that they are not able to get information in rural areas, but also auxiliary nurse midwives and community healthcare workers have access to information. And we have learned from what India is doing and what other organizations are doing too. And as part of our work, we also provide telementoring to nurses, doctors, and also the people who repair medical devices, which is another big need. But really joining the community in India that is providing services to build the ecosystem. As our products have greater impact, and as I mentioned, our devices have treated over 1.5 million patients, but we've, as an organization, further invested in India, and our New Delhi office is now our largest. And not only does this team do user and market research, but in the future, we will also be building technical teams to realize the full vision, for example, with Niti Aayog too, of discovery, development, and delivery of innovative medical devices for India and the rest of the world.